Welcome to One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. Um, JJ, I'm, I'm a little depressed. I'll tell you what I did.
Okay.
I did not watch the game last night. I went to bed early. I was so tired. And I could have watched the first few innings, but then I can't fall asleep because my mind's like in a baseball mode.
I know what you mean.
I go to sleep. I don't know. I'm probably asleep by 8:30. Wake up at 2:15 to go to the bathroom. Couldn't help myself. Looked at the phone to see the Cubs score, and I saw that Ryne Sandberg passed away. I did not go back to sleep. I've been up since 2:15.
Bless your heart. I
Um,
know what you mean. The same thing happened to me when Jack Buck passed away. I just stayed up all night kind of thinking about him and remembering the good times. So I know what you mean.
it's kind of strange. I'll be 59 on Friday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I am still at heart when it comes to certain players. I'm still a kid. It's like, oh man, I should be should be old enough to go back to sleep after Ryne Sandberg dies. It wasn't a surprise because about 2 months ago, it was announced, and I said it on here that his cancer's come back aggressively. And last week, I was watching a game, and Jed Hoyer was in the press box with JD and Boo, and he talked for quite a while about Sandberg, unprompted. So it made me think he's probably just got days to live. And then I didn't really think about it again until I saw that he had passed away. Excuse me, I'm looking for something. Here it is. Saw that he had passed away, and I'm like, wow. And we're gonna finish. We're gonna talk about Rhino at the end, but switching topics real quick. I need to write something down.
Oh,
So
sure.
I'll joke while I write something down.
I always carry a pen with me because Vince will say something very poetic about every 15 minutes. And I write it down because I have a little something to say afterwards and I'll have to remember it. In my age, Vince, thoughts come and go. They just come and go. So I jot little notes down myself while we're talking.
So my poetic language. I got one for you. There once was a man from Nantucket.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's a kid show. It's a kid show.
So I meant to have my green screen up and Ryne
Ah,
Sandberg up here an hour before we were supposed to get on here. So about 5:30, I'm in my office eating, and we had a flash storm run through here. I heard limbs hitting the house, and I went outside. The door to the back of the basement blew open, and rain was just coming in sideways and coming in about 6 feet into the basement.
oh
It
man.
was unreal. So I'm down here. You've got to go outside to go upstairs. So I can't go outside. It's all this wind, and I've heard all this crashing. So I call Catherine. Are you okay? Yeah, okay, but you're not gonna believe it how bad it is. So when I went out there, we had big limbs fall on our brand new roof. So we're gonna have to have that looked at again to make sure that there's no um, compromise in that. Our gutters are all bent up now because one of the huge limbs that hit the roof, one of them's still on the roof, one of them that hit the roof rolled off and mangled gutters. Our mimosa that's in the front yard, being the winds, instead of coming from the west, they were coming from the east. And I think that Kathy's thinking that's why everything blew down because usually the wind is coming from the west and everything's used to, the trees lean that
You're
way
right.
from the east, and there's just limbs everywhere, all over Peevely. And I'm like, my goodness, this has been a terrible year between the siding, the roof, the deer hitting the car, and now this. Good
Wow.
thing is we paid our deductible this year. So
Yeah.
I don't know how this works. We've got to call the contractor that's going to do the siding and say, hey, is this another claim for like the gutters and they have the roof rechecked? Or can you, I mean, you're who we have doing this, but it's,
Yeah.
I just can't believe it. It's
Yeah.
just a mess.
You know,
So,
just when you think you can get ahead, just when things look like, oh, they're going good, something happens. You know, you always think, man, I'm doing pretty good. And boom, you get a reality check like that. It's been crazy weather, Vince. I was coming home today from Farmington, and about on Highway 8, which is Park Hills to Potosi, it was a beautiful day. I'm driving, it's 100 degrees. And all of a sudden, it just started downpour rain for about 100 yards and had windshield wipers on. And then you come out of it, it looked like there was never rained at all. There's just kind of weird weather today like that, you know? Yeah.
we're supposed to be getting a reprise of this hot weather.
Thank God.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm planning on mowing tomorrow. Well, now I've got to clear limbs too, and
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it gets
oh,
better.
well,
And
it's an others.
yeah.
Roseanne, Rosanna, Dana. Well, let's get the housekeeping done.
All
Those
right.
uh, watching us on the YouTube channel, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can get the information as soon as we post it. We encourage you to go to our Facebook page, One Cardinal, One Cup of One Beer, and like it. And if you would like to get a hold of us, you can either contact us through one of our platforms with a DM or a comment, or you can do the old fashioned email thing, one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. Remember when email was so new and we thought it was so cool?
Oh,
And
yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
like antiquated. It's like everything's done with text now. So
That's true.
I seldom talk on the phone. I'm not, introverts don't talk on the phone really well. Especially you get two introverts on the phone, you can just feel them thinking, what's the next thing I should say? They're both thinking that. I don't know. Because, introverts don't do small talk. It's very difficult for us to do small talk. So I never call anybody. I love texting. And and friend of the show who's been on a few times, Gary Reinhardt, he and I used to promote comedy shows together. And Gary's a phone talker. He's a phone talker, man. He would call me up on everything, and I would just be sitting there thinking, ah, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? And but with Gary, we'd be on the phone for a half an hour and he'd talk for 27 minutes and I just throw in a yeah, hi every now and then. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
you know, I grade phone calls. If you call me and you're like, if I have a friend and they're at Niagara Falls and they said, JJ, I just had to call you. I'm looking at the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I think I take that as an honorable thing. But if somebody calls me from sitting on the toilet, I'm like, forget it. You couldn't squeeze me in any other time. You had to be on your forget it. I'm hanging up on you. So that I will not take any toilet calls because every once in a while they're talking to you here. And I was like, are you on the toilet? Oh, I'm hanging up.
have you ever heard that audio? It's got to be on the internet. I first heard it on the Frank Opinion show. It is LBJ while he's president. He is sitting on the toilet. He's ordering slacks, and I mean, it is so funny. Here's our
I'll look
president
that up.
on the toilet. I'll tell you something strange. I bet my father and I have not talked on the phone for 15 years. We're both introverts. We're not talkers, so it's just easier for us to text. Um, with my kids, um, and I will talk on the phone every now and then. Um, Max, I haven't talked on the phone for him since he got his job. I think that's the last time we've talked on the phone. Actually, it's mostly texting. Um, with Evelyn, we'll talk every now and then on the phone, but not a whole lot. Rebecca and I self. If Rebecca's on the phone with Kathy, she'll put it on speaker and I'll talk to her then, but I don't have to carry a conversation. Tabitha, I probably talk to a couple, three times a month on the phone, but I'm not a big phone talker. Um,
It
it's just not
depends
my
on who
thing.
it is. My best friend Hodge, I would like, oh no, I love Hodge. But when he called, sometimes it would be known. My wife would go to bed and she'd get up the next morning and we're still on the phone talking. We never had a disconnected thought. We never had a sentence that ever ended. It just went on, and we start out talking about refrigerators and end up talking about the Maltese Falcon. It just never ended. So he was the one guy that I never ended up ending a conversation with. And one of us, something had to happen, like, hey, I got to go to work or what, something like that, and then we go on
Oh,
our
I have to
merry
go to
way.
bed tonight. So
Go to bed, man.
now the only times if I was in a relationship with somebody whenever I was single, yeah, you talk on the phone because you got to
Oh,
get to know that person.
lovey dovey.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, what are you
What are
doing?
you doing?
Eat my toenails. But not a big phone talker. Anyway, uh, aside from all that crap, how are you doing? I mean,
Hey, pretty good. Vince, I'm getting older. I talked to you about playing wiffle ball down there in Caledonia. I can't do it. I've been out there trying, and Saturday I just got overheated. And I take one pill. I take a blood pressure medicine, and I'm telling you what, my blood pressure got out of whack. I was just so tired, and I was like, you know what, I just can't do it. And sometimes I'm very sore the next day. And I'm 61 now. I'm out in shape and I'm a few pounds overweight, let's be honest. And I'm like, you know what? I just can't do it anymore. I'll go down there and watch, maybe if they need a commentator, but I can't play anymore. So I got a reality check, So, but that's the way it is. You get older and you just become a spectator more so.
yeah, I had a Tabitha when I was 24. Then I didn't have kids again until Evelyn was my next kid, and I was 34. So when Violet was born, I was 38. So when I'm out in the backyard playing wolf ball with the kids, I'm in my mid 40s. Man, this used to be so easy.
Yeah.
It's not so easy anymore.
Oh man. I did see Fantastic Four Saturday. I
Is it good?
really loved it. It's one of the better Marvel movies after the final the Infinity Gauntlet saga. After that Avengers thing, it's one of the better ones. I really enjoyed it. It was good. More about family, and they did Galactus, which I didn't think they could do it on film very well, but it came off very good. I really enjoyed it.
Now, are you a Naked Gun fan?
Yes,
Are
yes,
you
I
going to
am.
see the new one?
We just talked about that today. We saw a commercial. Yes, we're gonna go see it.
I I didn't want to go see it because I mean Leslie Nielsen can't
I
top.
know.
But when I have seen the trailers for it, I thought I think I'll go. I might even spend money to go see this. I don't know.
I like to support the cause. I like everyone in it that I've seen, and so yeah, I'll check it out.
Frank Drebin, you're both right. Uh, very quotable movie, and
Oh
it's got
yes.
Reggie Jackson in it. So hey,
Oh yeah, love the Reggie.
speaking of baseball players, did you watch the Hall of Fame induction?
Yes, I did. I'm not gonna lie to you, Vince. I wasn't feeling good that day. Like I said, my blood pressure was crazy. So I went on YouTube later and I watched each individual speech. And a lot of it's the pageantry. I like the beginning, the pregame for it. I didn't see any of that, but I did get to see the speeches and put a smile on my face. And I'm so happy for the players, first of all, their families, and the fan bases that those players represented. It's a cool part of baseball.
I think this is it's probably less than 10, and I'm not counting the years where it was just like one player. There's been a few years where it's been one player, but with so many players, I it was kind of cool because I have seen each one of these players play. Now, Dick Allen, I only saw the last year he played when the Cardinals would play the Phillies, and so I probably only saw him pinch hit, not even realizing who he was at that time. But these are all people who were contemporaries of whenever I was a baseball fan, so that's really cool. And
You know, and
it's sad. I was gonna say it's sad that Dick Allen, Dave Parker passed away. Um, and there's something that's I don't know. I've talked about how I don't like that. They didn't get any better when they died. Why wouldn't they put in while they were alive? So, but
You
anyway,
know, I I, anybody that goes in the Hall of Fame, God bless them. You know, who am I? But there's certain players you see, and when you see him, you go, "That's a Hall of Famer." Like Ichiro to me was that guy. He was like, "Well, that's a no doubter right there." CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner. I had to look into their statistics, and if you look at the long term, they very good arguments for both. And Dick Allen and Dave Parker, I thought had smaller windows, but those windows they were one of the best players in the game for like a 5, 6 year period. And I have no problem, but I'm with you. I wish I could have been alive to enjoy it, you know. And I like that Dave Parker's son looked just like him. He
yeah.
was split an image of him, and he read his speech and everything. That was really touching, but it was funny. And Billy Wagner was truly, you could tell he was touched, and he was a Division III uh, college pitcher. So that just shows you could be, a King Griffey Jr., who everybody knew coming out of high school, or you could be a Billy Wagner who went to Division III college and somehow hard work your way up and become a big leaguer and get in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. You can come. It can happen to anybody. You might not be the number one draft choice, but you can get in there. Mike Piazza is a perfect example. Just picked as a favor to Tony Lasorda, and here, yeah, and he became a Hall of Famer. So that's just so cool. And another thing, looking at the Deos, there you had Fergie Jenkins sitting near Tony La Russa, and I think he was right behind Ozzie Smith. And there you go. All right, there's a coming Cardinal. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. You've got to get to Cooperstown to get the full effect of what they're walking into because it's
Can't
just a
wait.
little town in the middle of nowhere. And once a year, it is inundated with the greatest baseball players ever. Nothing else. I mean, Canton is a city with a little bit of size. It's not like a small town. I don't even know where the basketball Hall of Fame is or the hockey Hall of Fame, but baseball is just that Hall of Fame in that little city is just part of the charm of baseball. Um, I just I thought it was a great ceremony. I thought it was a great class. It's going to be one of the more memorable classes for me, being that I've seen all these players play, and I agree that they all should have been in there. A couple years ago, we did players that we thought deserved to be in there. I think Parker was on both of our lists, and I think I had Allen. I don't think you did, but I thought Wagner and Sabathia and Ichiro were all Hall of
Yeah.
Famers. Sabathia is like that last pitcher who was a threat to go 9 innings every time he took them out, and
Right.
he's a throwback. So,
The moment that I realized how great, I just thought he was a really good pitcher. The minute I knew he was great was when he got traded from Cleveland to Milwaukee, and they just pushed him out there every 3 or 4 days, and he won like 8-1 and got him, I think, into the playoffs that year. And I was like,
yeah, I did.
whoa! I mean, he put that team on his back, and then of course the Yankees were great when he was there, and he was a big part of it. But goodness gracious, that guy was something else. So
Yeah.
that's when I woke up and said, "Oh, this guy's a different thing here. This is a Hall of Famer right here."
I guess you saw the game that Nick Kurtz had on Friday against the Astros in
I had
Houston.
people emailing or texting me. I'm sorry, I'm old school. They were texting me saying, "Check out this right here," and I was like, "Good night." Vince, the only thing I had heard on him was since he came up, he was like eighth maybe in extra base hits, and he gave everybody else like a 4 week head start. And that's the only thing I knew about him until this game right here. Ooh,
And
what'd you think?
his first 15, 20 games, he was terrible. He wasn't hitting, and then he's been on fire ever since. Uh, it may be the greatest offensive performance in baseball history. Um, it's believed that Kerry Wood's 20 game strikeout, one hitter, no walks against Houston was the greatest pitching performance, and they have ways of grading them, and they say that is the best pitching performance ever,
Hard to
even if you
argue.
get the no hitter. Um, 6 for 6 with 4 home runs and a double, 6 runs, 8 RBIs. That's against Houston. I mean,
Against Houston.
have a great game. Play the Astros. Every 30 years, man, you're going to explode. But his average, this was going into yesterday, 309, 23 home runs, 59 RBIs, a 1.061 OPS, a 3.4 WAR. Tremendous. And his teammate, Jacob Wilson, it looked like for the longest time that's going to be the rookie of the year. And now Kurtz has come on, and Wilson has a broken arm now. So
Oh, I didn't
um,
know that.
it looks like Kurtz may put himself in the driver's seat for the rookie of the year. And
Vince,
all 18,000 fans in Sacramento are going to be happy about it. That was
look,
stupid. There's not 18,000 fans.
you're being generous. You're being generous. But Vince, look at that team the Sacramento A's are putting together. That team, I mean, there's about five. There's an outfielder out there that just makes dazzling plays, and most people don't see it except super nerds like us because they're in the West Coast and they play in for the A's. But that team is putting together a good team. They got one of the best closers. By the time they hit Vegas, that team may be clicking on all cylinders, and I see them spending a little money. The A's could be maybe we're seeing the next coming of that early '70s team where they just got a stack of young stars. I'm excited about it, and that Kurtz game, it was the first rookie in the history of baseball to get 4 home runs in a game, in the history of the game, and the first Oakland A or the first athletics player ever to get 4 home runs in a game. So I only remember Mark Whitten on our end, and that was a surprise. Hard hitting Mark Whitten. So congratulations. What a game for that kid.
Tremendous, tremendous.
Yeah.
A couple things that I found interesting. I was texting with my dad because we don't do phone calls about a week and a half ago, and I was saying that um, talking about pitching, and he's saying I really want Seth Lugo, and then Kansas City kind of did something that made me take a double. Like they're not selling; they traded for Randall Grichuk, and I thought,
Right.
if they're trading for someone, they're not selling. And then a few days later, they signed Seth Lugo to the extension. So that takes the Royals out of a trading team. Miami has played their way into contention. Um, they're in the wild
Red
card
hot.
race now. They have pitching, and it was looked at like, maybe we can pluck,
Right.
one of their pitchers. Um, but now I don't know if they're going to be selling. Um, I guess the only two teams that I see that are still trade partners, that are still serious trade partners that do have some pitching, is Minnesota and Arizona. Arizona is definitely selling. I mean, they've already traded a few, and Minnesota is definitely selling. But now you've got all these contending teams that are just hyper focusing on a couple of teams for pitching, and I'm getting nervous, like, because I tell you, if we don't pick up the pitcher, we don't win the division. We're not going to win the division unless we pick up the pitcher. I'll say that right now. If we don't pick up the pitcher, we could be in trouble with the wild card, because we do have Tyone that's going to come back, but you look at Boyd, Imanaga, um, and Tyone, and Tyone was not that good the last, 5, 6 starts before he got injured. And then Cade Horton really has stepped it up, but it makes me nervous because going into this year and like the last 4 years combined, he'd had like 220 innings because he's been injured, and that was college and minor league ball and everything. Ben Brown has proved that you just can't rely on him. So I think, gosh, is our pitching going to hold up if we don't add a quality arm? I don't know. But then again, I'm a Cub fan. I'm pessimistic by nature because I was programmed to be that way. And it's just going to be fascinating what happens these last 2 days of uh, the trade deadline. And we've already had some action. I'll kind of get into that. But
Everything's so fragile too, Vince. Like the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that every year people thought this is their year, and you kind of got used to. Well, now what are they going to do? Going to keep a Shed you know, or Vladdy? What are they going to do? And all of a sudden this year they've caught fire and they're in first. And Aaron Judge, who is the captain of the Yankees, as he goes, they go. Now he's injured, so I'm interested to see what they're going to do because they got all the money in the world too. What moves are they going to make? Because with Judge out, I don't. Man, it just seems like just one player can make a big difference like that. You know how it is. Like Milwaukee's been pretty healthy this year, but what if some injuries start to hit them? They somehow land on their feet. Nothing could happen. They still land on their feet. That Milwaukee team, they're just I don't know. They're just steady. They're just nice and steady. But it's so many things can happen, Vince, with injuries or I don't know. Well, uh, speaking of that, Emmanuel Classe, one of the best relievers, who nowadays you hear all this gossip about players and trades and everything. He got suspended of all things. Who saw that coming with pay? But it's going to be until the end of next month, August, while they investigate this. And it must be a pretty serious charge for them to suspend him. So my goodness, that really hurts the game. I think that hurts the Cleveland team and him, who is probably going to go somewhere and get a chance to be a part of something special down at the because they were talking about he was a candidate to get traded, which
yeah,
now means Helsley, which with that kind of pivots and maybe Helsley's, you know, his value goes up because Class A's out of the picture right now. So many variables, so many things, Vince. You never know what people need. I remember we got traded to Young one year just because Bichette went down and we were able to move him, who I didn't think he had much trade value at the time, and we got we got some decent players for him. So anyway, that's just how it goes.
the Cardinals are fascinating to me because um, they there's no reason to hold on to Arenado.
No.
But if they trade him, it's looking like the two teams that could really use him play in their division, the Cubs and the Brewers.
Yeah.
So are they going to make an in division trade? Because the Yankees just got Ryan McMahon to play third base from the Rockies. Um, and all the other teams seem to be solidified in the third base position. The Cubs, Matt Shaw has been hitting, still hitting after since the All Star break. He's been one of our top offensive players. So, are we going to jump into that, or is Arenado is like Milwaukee the place that he ends up? I don't know. I think the Cardinals would be a little deflated if they are not able to trade that contract. He
Yeah.
it came out that they had a deal in the works with Houston, and Houston was telling him, "We are contenders this year." And he did not buy into it. He thought, "No, you're rebuilding. You're rebuilding. You've got rid of Tucker. You're rebuilding." They're saying, "No, we're reloading, and you're part of this reload." So um, he didn't go there, and they swung the trade with the Cubs for Paredes and Cam Smith for Tucker. And you know, could you imagine Arenado and maybe someone else? And you guys had Kyle Tucker this year. Yeah,
Yeah. You just never know, Vince. We could never resign Kyle Tucker, but yeah, that would be awesome to
who
have
knows
Kyle
if we're going to
Tucker.
be able to resign Kyle Tucker?
I
And again,
thought of it long and hard.
45 games has been below average. He's he's not doing much offensively right now. And at one time, they were talking about a $500 million, $50 million a year contract. He's kind of trying to play himself out of that. And if he does not start hitting, the Cubs uh, don't start piling up some wins, that may hurt him a little bit. I'll tell you, if he doesn't turn it around and then doesn't resign with us, um, he better never come back into Chicago because he will get fleeced. Uh,
That is true. That is true. But you know, that's a lot of money to play one player. And you know I hear so many people, oh, the Cardinals ought to go get, I hear the stupidest trades. We ought to give him this guy, this guy, this guy for Acuna Jr. What? They're not getting rid of Acuna Jr., and someone like Soto, great player, but my gosh, we couldn't afford anything else. So we got Juan Soto or Otani. I mean, I'd love to have him, but my goodness, anyway, but I thought long and hard. Are they going to be able to keep Tucker? Because if they are, you got other players going to be. PCA is going to be coming up eventually for the bigger money, and of course he's a homegrown superstar. Everybody loves him. You got to keep him. So I don't
well,
know what you'll do.
I'll get into the
Oh,
dynamics
okay.
for the Cubs pretty soon. Let me go over some injuries. Jorge Soler for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim from California or whatever they call themselves. 10-day IL with lower back inflammation. All-star catcher for the Blue Jays, Alejandro Kirk, 7-day IL for the concussion protocol. Byron Buxton for the Twins, who's having a fantastic season,
Yes, he is.
but has always battled injuries. He's on the 10-day IL with the left rib cage inflammation. We talked about Aaron Judge, 10-day IL with the flexor strain. Chris Bubik of the Royals, who has really had a pretty good year, 15-day IL with the strained left rotator cuff. And we talked about Jacob Wilson for the A's, 10-day IL with a fractured left forearm. So we have those. And let me get into the trades that have happened so far of note. Well, I want to start with Nick Ahmed for the Rangers, a longtime player for the Diamondbacks. He's retired. Uh, Pretty good major league career. Almost had a world championship. Almost. Uh, this one just happened, I think, today. Sir Anthony Dominguez went from Baltimore to Toronto for a prospect, and that's a good sixth, seventh inning guy in your bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
The Brewers get Danny Jansen, catcher from the Rays for a prospect. And then the Rays trade a prospect to Miami for Nick Fortes. The Yankees get Carlos Carrasco from the Braves for cash. And I don't mean Dave Cash or Norm Cash. I mean cash. Uh, Cash, that's the stuff you're paid with when you do a comedy show. Cash. So Minnesota traded Chris Paddock to the Rangers for two prospects. Like I already said, Seth Lugo signed a 2-year extension with the Royals.
I'm
Josh
happy
Naylor,
about I'm happy about that move for
I
them.
am too. Let him go to Seattle and try to help that offense. It's always needed help. Josh Naylor from Arizona is traded to Seattle. Prospects. And Arizona also unloaded Randall Grishik to Kansas City for pitcher Andrew Hoffman. So Arizona's clearly in the sell mode. I don't want Zach Gallen. I want Jackson Merrill. That's what I'm looking at
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
pitching. Ryan McMahon got out of hell. I mean Colorado. Sorry. Um, Traded to the Yankees for prospects. Yankees traded Ahmed Rosario because now that they've got Ryan McMahon, they didn't need Rosario to Washington for pitcher Clayton Beeler. And Kevin Biggio, who last week when you saw the little deal of me and Max and Kathy at the minor league
Oh,
game, got to see him strike out. He's been DFA'd, so he's out of the
oh.
Kansas City organization. Boy, his career came crashing down.
He looked so bright, like a superstar. Like the three sons, were all up there and in Toronto, and it just all of a sudden he worked his way out of the lineup, and then he was gone. So yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
love him.
telling you, in that AAA game we saw, he looked overmatched in
I love
AAA. It was like,
him.
wow. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Um, go home and Dad Craig beat you. Oh, you got any other general news?
Yeah, I like the funnier side of the game. There's so many nuances. It's a long season. Well, Terry Francona, who is the coach of the Reds now, I always think of him as the Cleveland coach, but he's the coach of the Reds now. Uh, Kevin Cash, who's the coach of Tampa Bay, he Francona managed Cash. I think it was in Cleveland, and then Cash coached with Francona. He played a prank on him when they were in Cincinnati. I don't know if you saw this, Vince, but on the big screen, he had somebody get all the tape of nothing but Cash striking out. So when both teams were on the field throwing the ball, and they made somebody at the stadium said, "Hey, they're honoring you on the jumbotron." It was just strike after strikeout, and you could see both teams laughing. And Cash was like, "Oh, you sucker!" And that is great because these two guys are just so close, been to the game together, and they've been pranking each other since they both become managers. I like that. One of the greatest pranks I ever seen, I believe it was uh, Fred McGriff, maybe. And they announced on the intercom that the team was giving away a brand new truck to somebody, and somebody got McGriff's keys and drove his brand new truck onto the field. And he was like looking, and he was like, "What the heck?" And then everybody started laughing. That's the fun part of the game. You got all these relationships. A lot of these guys known each other since they were high school kids. The best players play against each other nowadays, anyway. So I think that's great. You got a sense of humor, first off, because it's a long season. Do you remember any pranks or seen any along the way?
You always see like the hot foot,
Oh,
putting the
yeah.
bubble gum on there, and
The classic.
um,
Yes.
it wasn't a prank, but it was one of the things that really made me chuckle. A few years ago, the Cubs had traded Sterling Castro to the Marlins, and I think it was 2016. I think it was their World Series year. There was a little dust up, and both teams came out of the dugout, and nothing's happening. Just both teams out of the dugout, and the Sterling Castro is just standing there, and Chris Bryant comes up behind, starts tickling him because they played right next to each other on the diamond, so they knew each.
Forever.
It was just kind of hilarious.
In
So
a heated moment like that. For some reason, the Rangers, Adrian Beltran had a problem. He didn't like people touching his head. And always Odor and those guys would grab him and touch him by the head, and then he'd chase them. He'd get real mad and chase them. And that was kind of hilarious because that was their way of showing him some love or something. I don't know, but it was really a cool thing. And, I just remember those videos and stuff like that. Well, that was one thing, and I really enjoyed that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, uh, Rob Manfred's been going team to team, and I guess sitting with him and talking about the state of the game because there is a possible strike coming up or a work stoppage. I don't know what you want to call it. And he was in Philadelphia and was talking about a possible salary cap. Ricky Horton said they've kind of been talking about a salary cap since 1980, which I didn't know that. But evidently, Bryce Harper didn't want to hear about it. There was a lot of, "Hey, don't you come in our blinking locker room and talk about that?" And he was like, "I'll come in your blinking locker room." And they said at the end they shook hands. But Vince, I'm really kind of worried about the state of the game. I don't think either side wants a stoppage, but oh, that's a big sticking point right there. What do you think of this? Instead of a salary cap, I know they've got the levels where you have to pay a tax if you go over. But what about getting rid of these? What do they call it when you pay somebody, but you move it 25 years down the line and you don't have to pay them right now?
for payment, yeah.
Yeah, maybe get rid of that because man, the Dodgers are just deferring everybody down the line. I don't know what they're going to do about that, but maybe
Yeah,
get rid of the deferred payments.
I want to get rid of deferred payments,
Me
and
too.
I a salary cap would be nice,
Yeah.
but a salary cap is not going to happen. Um, this isn't the NFL, this isn't the NBA, this isn't hockey. This is baseball, and baseball has been run this way for long enough now. Um, the game is healthy. It is experiencing a revival. Um, I want to see a floor.
I like that.
That's I the players could get on that. The owners who aren't cheapskates will get on that. You're gonna have your the D bag in Pittsburgh and the guy with the Rays. Yeah, you're gonna have those people who are gonna balk at it. But um, this garbage that all right, we're a small team, so we got a small window with big prospects coming up, like the Royals did, in the mid 2000s. Oh gosh, it worked out for them, but it doesn't work out for most people. They just kind of keep getting in this cycle because they're cheap. And I think the salary floor would do a couple of things. Number one, it would raise the competitiveness because you're not going to have your athletics. You're not going to have your White Sox right now who have a terrible payroll because they shed so much payroll. Now they lost so much money they're trying to make. It also would ensure that you can pay someone on your team to be a star.
Yes.
And you can be a terrible team, but if you have someone that gives people a reason to pull out their wallet and buy tickets because they want to see player X play, even though this is not a very good team, it's just smart marketing. When you have a team full of players that nobody knows who they are, and by the time one of them gets semi decent, you deal them off, or you let them go through arbitration, time for free agency. Oh, well, we can't afford him anyway. Um, I just think that a floor is would would be a great benefit. And then if you take away the deferred payments, that's going to take away some of this garbage where teams are going to say, okay, um, let's say that there is no deferred payments and the Dodgers payroll reaches $550 million. All that money, they're above the threshold. They can afford it because they're stinking rich. That goes to distributed amongst the other teams that they can pay
Yes.
free agents for. So I see what baseball's saying. Salary cap has worked in the NFL, it has worked in the NBA, it has worked in hockey. It does work, but you're not going to push that back with baseball players. Baseball players have proven one thing in the past. They will sacrifice the future of the game to make sure that they hold on to that because they've done it many times before. They will not budge on a salary cap. So the owners might as well say, screw it. And you want to know who created this situation? The owners. They're the ones who started bidding with each other, saying, oh, well, I remember when Dave Winfield made $1 million a year, and then that was ungodly. And Ryan made $1 million a year. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are making so much money. And I remember when Sandberg, which we're going to talk about at the end, Sandberg, he made $7 million a year when he signed a contract in the early '90s. Everybody's like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I pay that much money. Yeah, now you got guys that are making $50 million a year. Okay, if you don't defer that money and you make them pay it, they're going to have to. Okay, we need to slow down a little bit. But I just would hate to see them go on a lock lockout or strike. There is a difference.
Oh,
Lockout is when the owners say we're not going to play until you negotiate what we want. A strike's players saying, "Hey, we're not
oh,
going to play because we want this." So it would be a lockout because the owners are going to be the ones who are going to say we want the salary cap. It's not going to happen. And if you shut the game down, what's keeping this game alive is old people like us.
it
It's
is.
your generation. And you shut the game down, I'm telling you, I probably won't be doing this podcast anymore. I will find something else to do. Um, after the was it a lock or a strikeout? Strike. I don't remember the lockout or strikeout. I think it was a lockout in '94, and that
Yes.
bled into spring training, and then they only played like 140 games. '95 season, I know Atlanta won the World Series, and I think they beat Cleveland.
I think
I
so.
barely watched baseball that year. I
Yeah.
barely. I just
I had a
couldn't.
bad taste in my mouth. It just wasn't the same. Yeah.
So
Yeah, the owners had everything up to 1974. I mean, the players, their contracts was like what a normal worker in the US made. And then free agency came and that changed the whole game. And baseball's always been a different sport, like you said, Vince, where you get paid, you're under you get bonuses, the draft choices and the young guys get bonuses. But as you come to the league, there is a league minimum. And then there's after so many years you can go to arbitration, but usually it's about 6 years before you can go to free agency. But your team has the right to try to sign you first. But that's when the player now has, you know, power. And it's hard to play in the big leagues for 6 years. I mean, most players don't make it to 6 years. You get a little taste of it or something. So I'm with the players. I mean, these guys are the 1% of 1% that the best and they worked their way up and they've got this far, and now they get to sort of enjoy. I remember the Rams had a quarterback, Sam Bradford, who got like $50 million out of college, and he never played much of anything in the NFL. And these guys have to work their way. It's almost the opposite. It's like, what have you done? Where in other sports, it's what do we think you're going to do? That's what I always kind of thought. So man, I hope they work this out. It just seems like they're fighting over just percentages. And I mean, the game's in a good place, like you said. We've got internationally, it's more popular than ever. And we've got players from all over the world. Uh, I love watching Colorado play as they beat my Cardinals' butt, but I love watching Colorado. I love watching the Yankees. I want to see the Dodgers lose. I love watching the Cubs and Brewers play each other. I could just turn on any game and get some enjoyment out of it. So I'm selfish, Vince, and I want to have my daily fix of baseball news or games or whatever. So come on, guys, get this thing settled.
when I was in high school, I was a busboy, uh, and I had to join the union,
Oh,
and
I didn't
I
know
was
there was a
making
union.
335 uh, food service workers union. I think I was making 335 an hour. And I was complaining about union dues one day. And one of the cooks, she was an older lady, and she chewed me out one side up the other. And she said, if we didn't have that union, they would pay you 50 cents a day if they could. I thought, oh, get out of here. What have we seen? The with the way society has, the rich have gotten filthy rich, and with the diminishment of unions, and you still have what minimum wage, federal minimum wage hasn't been raised forever, and people complain, that workers at McDonald's they don't deserve a living wage. Well, you know what? McDonald's workers are no longer high school kids; these are people trying to make a living. And when you have companies like Walmart that have training to tell their full-time employees this is how you apply for SNAP. This is how you apply for food stamp benefits. There is something wrong because just a generation before us, you could have one salary, one middle class blue collar worker that you could afford a home, you could afford a car, you could afford to take vacations, you could afford to send your kids to college. And now, if my kids wanted to play serious baseball, I couldn't afford to have them play serious baseball. It's a rich kid sport now.
It is.
And sorry for those of you who may be listening whose kids play on these traveling teams, but it
I
really
couldn't
has,
afford it.
yeah, you can't afford it. Um, my sister, her son played a lot of traveling baseball, and your hotels, you travel all over. We had Scott Throneberry on about a year and a half ago, and he makes a good living. And he's talking about with his kids how he has to fly. He's flown everywhere from Alaska to Florida for baseball. Um, if getting this back to Major League Baseball, I'm afraid if you give the owners what they want, a salary cap, it's going to start. Where are they going to stop? Where are they going to stop? Where are they going to stop? And so that's why I'm voting for the players, because a player making $50 million a year is not much compared to what the owners are making.
That is true.
How much are the owners making? Nobody knows because they don't have to disclose it.
I kind of wish they didn't have to say the players what they make, because you hear people in the crowd, he makes 13 million. I wish they nobody knows how much I make. And of course you'd laugh at me if you knew, but it's just, I'm with you, Vince. I'm exactly with you on that. Yeah, and these owners are business people. They know they're not going to get into a business that they're going to lose money on. They're making hand over fist, and they could sell their teams for twice what they bought it for, at least
Yeah,
twice.
yeah. The owners are billionaires, um, or they're conglomerates of millionaires, deep pocketed millionaires. I'm not talking about, hey, that guy's only worth 1.3 million. No, these are deep pocketed millionaires. Uh, maybe not quite billionaires, but you got a conglomerate, and maybe you've got a majority owner or something like that. But um, I am so for the players on this. Don't bend, uh, because I'm afraid that the owners are going to want more and want more and want more. And if you would have said to someone 50 years ago, in a 25 years, you're going to have two incomes for a family, and that's still not going to be enough to have a solid middle class living. People would probably laugh at you. Are you kidding me? Look at the prosperity we have here. Um, but this world is so whacked up now. Prosperity, the money is still increasing, but it's all going to the billionaires. And normal working stiffs, there's just not much money out there for them. And we do taxes come tax season, so we see a lot of people's income, and it's sad what some people have to live on. And I'm talking about me and Kathy. It's sad what we have to live on.
Is that how you cheer up some of the people, like, well, get a load of this, and then you cheer them up?
Yeah, well, Max got his job. He said, "This is my package," and he gave a budget to Kathy to look over, making sure that, he's got a good budget here. Because there's things he wants. He wants to make sure he puts away for retirement. He doesn't overspend or blow his money. And Max started off making more money than I did, than I make now. So, um, and Max said something. He said, "Yeah, it sounds like a lot of money, but you got to understand, for me to get a one-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood in Omaha, rent is almost $1,400.
Rents went through the roof everywhere. I don't know what's going on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, I'm going to McDonald's. I'm getting that $5 chicken or nuggets and fries and a small Coke. That's do.
Yes, sir. That's how you stay so fit. You're so thin. It's poverty.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't complain. You know what? Vince, we're both lucky. We have smart wives. My wife is so much smarter than me, man. I'm not raising the bar very high, but she is the brains of the operation, I have to say. And I've been blessed to even, stand, kneel at her feet. She's top notch in my book. I've got this recorded for Mother's Day.
There's a word for it. Um, um, gosh, I can't.
Has it got whip at the end of it?
Like sapiosexual or something like that. It's people who are attracted to very smart people.
Oh, yeah.
And
It raised my property value. All my friends are way smarter than me. I'm blessed just to be in the neighborhood. You, Vince, I'm just in the neighborhood. I'm hanging out, man. This is great.
I I don't think I can handle a relationship with someone who is not on my wife's intellectual caliber. I don't think I could. Um, I've been in, I was in one relationship with a girl, as you would say in the South, bless her heart.
Yes, I know what you mean.
So
She loved
anyway,
the Lord. She loved the Lord.
anyway, we dated for about 3 months, and the the conversations were like very basic, and I was just craving to have some sort of intellectual stimulation. And I knew we went to go see The Aviator, the Howard Hughes
Yes, I saw that.
biopic. It's over 3 hours long. And it was kind of it was kind of choppy because you're going through his whole life and you're trying to cram it into this. And so it wasn't easy to follow or anything. Plus, the whole movie, it's Howard Hughes. And here he's dating Lauren Bacall, all these people you've heard of. And as we're walking out of the theater, in a loud voice for everyone to hear as we're walking out, she said, "Was he a real person?" Oh my gosh.
I don't know her. I don't know that one. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
well, Vince, I have one last thing about baseball coming up soon. Before we do our next podcast, August 2nd, the MLB will play a game at Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee, in Bristol, Tennessee. And it's going to be the Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. And they are predicting the biggest one game crowd in the history of the game. The old record is 84,587, and they are expecting 85,000 fans at this game. I can't imagine playing a baseball game in front of that many people. I've seen what they've done to the track to make the field. Uh, it, I don't know. I'm going to watch it just as a curiosity.
I saw the aerial shot, and that's impressive. It's almost like they stuck a little baseball stadium inside the racetrack.
They just dropped it down. Now they're going to be wearing cool hats. I like this. I think the Braves have flames, and they have a little patch about the game, and then the Reds have checkered flag bill on their caps. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know. And they're really ramping up Tennessee for baseball. This is like the second time they've done something in Tennessee in recent memory. So this could be fun. And then maybe we're going to see a team down there in Nashville. Looks like they're kind of leaning that way right now. So we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Now, was the current record, was that one of the World Series games that the Dodgers played in the Coliseum?
Try to look it up and I couldn't find it, Vince. So I don't know for sure on that.
Yeah, I know they had some massive crowds.
Oh yeah, maybe the A's in the Coliseum when they were really good. Maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, but even when they were really good,
They didn't
the
pack them
70s
in.
they didn't sell out.
Man, really? Oh
Oh,
man,
yeah, they had attendance problems back then.
that team I would have went in I've been there every week seeing Vita Blue and Catfish and Raleigh. Man, that'd been
Oh yeah.
great.
What's going on with the Cardinals?
Well, I got all kinds of little stats, Vince. I love statistics. First of all, I'm going to talk about Ollie Marmol. Thursday, he got his 300th win. He's now up to 302, and that is 14th place in Cardinal history. And it's a long history. We've had a lot of coaches and everything. Tony La Russa, of course. I'll just go over the top three. Tony La Russa in the first spot, then Red Shane and then Whitey Herzog. So he's 14th, and he's around right where he's at in the next. Probably by the end of the year, he's going to pass up 3 or 4 guys. So I'd like to congratulate him. I think he's been a good manager in a turbulent time with Mosaic leaving and kind of what he's been given, some aging veterans and a bunch of young players. Kind of reminds me of the Joe Torre years.
Well, he's not La Russa, he's not Whitey, and he's certainly not Burn Rap.
Thank God he's not Burn Rap. Yes. Vince, that was the darkest time in Cardinal history, it just seemed like we went from being a good team to just being terrible. Al Rabowski's arguing with them, and it just seemed like, man, this is not happening. Man, that was that, and the early '90s was probably the darkest time in Cardinal history. A lot of people think now is, but they didn't go through those times. Those were some lean years. We didn't even we didn't even sniff a playoff spot back in those days. So anyway, I was just going to bring that up. Also, let's see. Oh, the Cardinals. I don't know what they called it, but they moved Eric Fetty. They called.
Yeah,
I thought that. Well, but then they were able to trade him, and I thought if you
yeah.
DFA, I didn't know. I thought if you DFA'd somebody, they were just out of the organization. But apparently, they DFA'd him, made a spot for McCreevy, and then brought up a reliever, this young kid who was up earlier in the year, and to give him a spot. And I just we ended up trading him to Atlanta, who's just been decimated with injuries, for cash considerations or a player to be named later. Either one's fine with me. Fetty was here about a year because we got him the year before around the trading deadline. And on May 9th, Fetty pitched his first complete game shutout against the Washington Nationals. I looked to see who it was against, and it was against the Nationals. So, that's still a major league team. But since then, he was 0-7 with 5 no decisions. And Vince, he had a 6.38 ERA over their 12 starts. And it was just, he didn't even give us a chance to win. Sometimes it'd be the third inning and we'd be down 5-7-0. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And we couldn't come back from those kind of starts. So now it gives McCreevy a spot in our starting rotation. Now, what I like about McCreevy, I don't think he's going to come in here and be Paul Skeens, but he's the future of the team. This is a young pitcher. He's worked his way up to the minors. Let's see what he's got and let him just turn him loose for the rest of the year. And he was a first round pick in 2021, and he came out of Santa Barbara College. He is 25 years old. He's 5-1 in the big leagues. And let's see. So let's see what he's got. Now, he pitched his first game the other day, and he didn't look particularly good. He went out there, he battled. His slider was not working, and they lit him up a little bit, but he went out there, and he gave us what he had. And so we're just going to see. This is a learning process, and I hope we get more good than bad, and he can keep working forward. But it's good to have him up here. And we also brought up reliever Andre Grillo, who is a 25-year-old. He's 6'4", 250 pounds, so it's good with us playing the Padres. It's good to have him out there, holding back the Padre players. We got to have some size on our team. But
Andre the Giant. That's
we'll get the Road Warriors out there just in case there's some trouble. But he was drafted in the 14th round by the Cardinals also in 2021, and I think this kid looks pretty good. He was in the minors was 22-15 with a 3.64 ERA, and he pitched 239 innings, and he is a strikeout pitcher. So he's pitched 8 games now, and he's got 1 save. So anyway, that's the kind of moves, and there's so many rumors about the upcoming trades. I've kind of just toned them out. You hear every player from Donovan to everybody, but
those are stupid.
Yeah.
Donovan, Mason Wynn, that's who you build around. You don't treat those 2 guys. Those are ball players.
Yeah, I'm with you, Vince. I understand some players, if their contracts are running out or they just haven't performed. And, if somebody really wanted Jordan Walker, and we talked about that last week, and that was a good idea. He has a lot of value and team friendly still. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, those guys you don't trade. Now, before I get into the games and everything, Wilson Contreras has. Vince, you told me when he came to us, he goes, "Oh, you're gonna like him," but he gets hit a lot. And man, him and the Brewers don't like each other. He gets hit all the time with the Brewers. Well, he's already. I think I wrote it down here. He's been hit by pitches 17 times since he's been with the Cardinals, and that is 26. He's tied for 26th all time in Cardinal history with getting hit by pitches. And You know what, Vince? He's a unique character. In one instant, he gets upset, he yells, he screams, he sort of dances around and points at the other team. And on the other end of it, he's hugging everybody. You know, when Machado got mad, because I'll be honest with you, we played the Padres and Machado got hit twice, Contreras got hit twice. Nobody wants to get hit. I understand that. I don't think any of them was. I thought maybe the first time Machado got hit, that was intentional, but all the other ones I didn't think were purpose pitches. And Machado and even Contreras after the game, hey, I got carried away, and he hugged the first baseman. I think with the Hispanic players, he's just loved. He's just, one of the all-time favorite. They just love him, and he's out there kidding around and saying hi to everybody. I love him having him on our team. I think he's the captain of the team. He seems to have like, come on, he puts a little fire underneath the team. And I really enjoy watching him. And he is a heck of a first baseman out there doing those stretches and everything, digging everything out. And when he does make an error, which everybody does, it's almost like you're shocked. Like, oh man, I can't believe Contreras didn't get that one because he's so good out there. It's kind of like Arenado at third. You're like, you're used to him getting everything hit to him. So I'm so happy he's on our team. And Cardinals got some bad news. I'm going to try to say this name. His last name's Roby. Taknoa Roby Friday. One of the guys we thought would have a shot at getting a spot in our starting lineup. He's pitched really good. He's worked his way. I missed him at Double A. He moved up to Memphis with JJ Weatherholt. He is now they closed him down for the year. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. So we probably won't see this guy until 2027. He's a young player. It's heartbreaking because he was going to get a real good shot at being in the rotation next year, and he's a good pitcher. But with that being said, Vince, it's not the end of the world because when players sometimes go get Tommy John surgery, they come back even bigger and stronger and better. They pitch harder sometimes. So I'm optimistic that he'll come back and be a part of this team down the line, but it's going to be a year and a half away now instead of next year.
I'll tell you, if I was a pitcher and I had to get Tommy John surgery, I would be so disappointed when the surgeon came in and it wasn't Tommy John. I wanted to be Tommy John. I thought he was doing the surgery.
Oh, doing the surgery. Oh, yeah. Man,
Yeah.
Tommy John. Well, the Cardinals, my goodness, it's been a rough week. We had a 1-5 road trip where we taped on Tuesday. We lost to the White Sox, and then we lost to the Rock. We went 1-5 against the White Sox and Rockies, and that's just so disappointing. You wanted to come out of the All-Star break and set the world on fire. It's just, I don't know. It kind of shows you where we're at now. It seems like we're tired and just going through the motions sometimes. Got these young guys. That's the thing. The Cardinals, I will say this, our most consistent part of our team is our defense and our bullpen. I think our bullpen's very good, and I think our defense is phenomenal. But hitting and starting pitching, apparently that's pretty important to win in Vince, and we're just not very consistent in those two aspects of the game. I love our young players, and I'm excited to watch these guys play. I wish Gorman. I just wish him health because, man, now's the time he could get in there and play. And if Arenado is moved, third base is his to play for the rest of the year and, show us what he's got. Defensively, he looks pretty good. Now, the Sajasi kid, great defensive. He's going to play second tonight, played third last night, doing a heck of a job. Now I'll get to the Padres series. Oh, and I want to say this, Vince. This is the saddest stat you're ever going to hear. Last year, when the White Sox were the worst team ever in the history of the game, they won 2 series. And this year, the Rockies are having the worst season, maybe break the White Sox record. And they won 2 series. The only teams that both teams beat were the Washington Nationals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, that's just some sad stuff. And we lost series to 2 of the historically bad teams ever. And we lost series to them. Man, just what can you say? You just take your butt kicking and move on to the next city.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Padres, we played them, and we played them in a tight series. We went 2-2. We won the first 2, and of course that makes you greedy, and you want to win 3 out of 4, maybe a sweep. We won 9-7 and 3-0, and then we lost 3-1 and 9-2. And there was a lot of I don't know, a lot of contact. Contreras ran over at first, kind of leapfrogged, and everything was cool. He was checking on him. A lot of, I think Contreras got hit 3 times in that series, but Ollie and Schilt are longtime friends. And even after they put out warnings, they didn't throw the pitchers out of the game because I think it was a hot night, sweaty, and the ball just got away. And I think the umpires did a phenomenal job of keeping the peace, not overreacting and letting the guys play. And the Padres are just a way better team. And Schultz got them playing all out. They're bunting, they're hitting and running, they're stealing bases, they're doing whatever they can to get in the playoffs and cause some trouble. I will say this though, it's kind of sad to see Yu Darvish these days. One time he was a top 5 pitcher, maybe a top 10 pitcher, and now it's just like he's lost his stuff. Happens to a lot of pitchers, and it can happen overnight. But Yu
He's got
Darvish
to
is
be in
just,
his late 30s.
yeah, I saw that he's been in the league he played in Japan and came here. He's been playing for a long time. So maybe
Oh,
Father Time has kind of caught up with him, It's kind
yeah.
of sad. He was dominant, one of the most dominant pitchers there for, like I say, a 5-7 year window there. But Vince, that's basically it. Yeah, poor Contreras. It's 42 hit by pitches, and he's tied with Joe Torre all time. And Joe Torre's got like 2,000 more at bats in a Cardinal uniform than Contreras. So my goodness. Jordan Walker, since the All Star break, is hitting 300. I think that's pretty good. And Ivan Herrera, that kid, I'm just excited for him. He's played left field last night, and I like that we're give him a shot in the outfield. We got to find a position for him because Contreras is at first. If he's a DH, we got more flexibility. If he's got a position, he can go play. So I'm glad he was in the outfield. Uneventful, one fly ball I remember to him, and he caught it. And they made a big deal out of catching a fly ball. But so that's it in Cardinal land, and we're struggling, and I'm excited for the next 2 days and see just where the team is headed. And could we make the playoffs? Maybe, but probably not. Probably not.
No, you can't.
Well, I don't
It's
know if I want to make the playoffs because Vince, I don't think we can give anybody much of a fight. So right now we're right in the middle, and
if I'm management, I'm trying to sell. I'm trying to sell and trying to
yeah,
get
get
prospects, which
get ready for next season.
he, this has been a good season so far because you've seen Donovan is a star. Um, Mason Wynn is a star in the making. Um, Victor Scott the second. The tools are there. Get the on base percentage up a little higher. He's going to do a lot of damage in this league. Burleson has been a revelation. And I was saying this before the year started. I think the Cubs should have tried to, and they did, tried to trade Arenado before the season and let Gorman play third and just give him a long leash and say, go for it. I do look for them to try to trade Arenado to a contender and just unleash Gorman and say, let's see what you got. You got 2 months. Let's see what you got as full-time third base.
Good.
With the Cubs, I'll start with this. Jed Hoyer signed a 5-year contract extension, so he's going to be around for a while. He has been with this team since Theo came here in 2015, 14, 14, 13.
That's a long tenure then.
But he started off as Theo's GM, and then when Theo left, vice president of baseball operations. Um, Jed's going to be around for a while. I'm kind of like he's really good at player development and drafting. That's his sweet spot. Um, he's not the best when it comes to getting free agents, enticing free agents, extending players. He's terrible at extending players. That really hasn't happened much, but a lot of that has been the shackles that have been put on him by management. So we're kind of mixed on that. Good news is Porter Hodge and Miguel Amaya are rehabbing in AAA. Porter Hodge closed for us last year. And if he comes back strong, that's going to be some late inning bullpen that we need. With him and Palencia at the end, Palencia has just been unstoppable this year since we put him at closer. Uh, Chris Flexum's been DFA'd. Um, he's he pitched really well, and then the last few weeks he's kind of come down to earth a bit. Been hit hard a few times, and Gavin Howell has been called up from AAA. Um, so just real quick, the Cubs were 3-3 this week. We Tuesday night we played Kansas City. We won 6-0. Boyd 7 shutout innings. Warner had a couple hits. Swanson had a couple hits. Shaw had a couple hits. Shaw remains hot. Yay, yippee-yi-yo. So then on Wednesday, the Royals beat us 8-4. PCA had a home run. Shaw had a home run. Excuse me. But Colin Ray, 5 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, dropped his record date for ERA is about 4 now. You're gonna see we really need help with pitching here. So then Friday we opened up against the White Sox. We lost 12-5. Reese McGuire did have 3 hits, including a home run. Vidal Brujan had 3 hits. So if you ride the bench with the Cubs, this was the game to play because Brujan and McGuire was the only bright spots that we had. And in that game, Imanaga, 3 innings, 12 hits, 7 runs. He'd been pitching so good since coming off the IL. And he'll do this a couple times a year. He'll have a couple of just terrible games, and then he bounces back. So I'm looking forward to him bouncing back. And then Sunday we beat the Sox 6-1. Happ had a couple of hits, a home run. Shaw had another home run. Cade Horton, 6 innings, no runs, 3 strikeouts. He's now 4-3 with an ERA of 3.67. He is starting to gain my confidence that he could be a number 3 starter in the playoffs.
Okay.
And it's so weird because he came out here with this reputation that he's got this wipeout slider. His best pitch has been the changeup that he's only been throwing for, I don't even know if he's been throwing it a year, but his changeup is wicked. So that was good. And then last night, that was Saturday's game. Then Sunday against the Sox, we won 5-1. PCA had a couple of hits. Warner had a couple of hits. Ben Brown, you have to put him out there. We're missing arms, but you know what he does? 5 innings, 1 run, only 3 hits, 4 strikeouts.
Hey,
lowered that ERA down to 6.22. So
nowhere to go but down.
Yeah. And then Palencia came in, pitched an inning and a third, got his 14th save of the year. And his ERA is a microscopic 1.43, and his whip is below 1. And then last night we played our first game, our big series against the Brewers. And we lost 8-4 last night. Bush had a couple of hits. We scored 3 runs in the first inning off of the Miz, whatever his name is. But you think you get a 3-0 lead going into the third with Matt Boyd on the mound, but he was pitching terrible. Gave up 5 walks, 5 runs, and 5 innings. So 3-3 week, not bad. We are out of first place. The Brewers are still hot. We're having and I'm not trying to say the sky is falling. I'm just being a realist. If we don't add pitching, we're not going to win this division. We're still probably a playoff team, but we're not going to win this division. We want to win this division. We want to get that first round bye, and have the shortest path to the World Series as possible. So, you know who else wants a short path to the World Series?
Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor wants the shortest path to the World Series. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. you need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Right, we were going to do spotlights. I was going to do Jose Cardinal, and you were going to do Willie McGee. But in light of me being depressed with my favorite player from my late teens, my mid 30s, Ryne Sandberg passing away, thought we'd do a little bit of a tribute to Ryne Sandberg. And Ryne was born and raised in Spokane, Washington. And there used to be a pitcher named Ryan Durham, and he wore big Coke bottle glasses, and he threw hard. And the very first pitch he would throw on a windup, he'd throw back to the screen just to intimidate the hitter, like, oh my gosh, you can't even see. And that's who Ryne Sandberg was named after, Ryne D. Sandberg. But oddly enough, he wasn't a huge baseball fan. He was a baseball player, but wasn't really into baseball. I played baseball on a little league team and then through high school with a guy who was one of our best players, but he didn't know Ty Cobb from Tie Your Shoe. And it just always floored me. He never watched baseball. He just wasn't into it, but he was really good at it, liked playing. But that's kind of how Ryne Sandberg was. He was not a huge baseball fan. He was a baseball player. He played basketball. He played football. And he excelled at all three of them. And it got to the point after high school, he kind of wanted to make a decision. Which one do I want to focus on? And he chose baseball. And it was the way he talks. It was almost like, a coin flip, a three-sided coin flip. I just decided, well, I guess it'll be baseball. And he was drafted in the 20th round by the Phillies. He was not a hot prospect. He was looked at as a defensive shortstop. If he was going to make it to the majors, it was going to be because of his glove, and he was going to be that second guy in the order or that eighth guy in the order who was a contact hitter. You could use him to bunt, move the runner over, play some hit and run. That's kind of what he was looked at. And he played the very end of the 81 season when they had the split season with the Phillies. And he got one hit with the Phillies. So people think he was a lifelong Cub. His very first hit and his only hit as a Philly was his very first hit in the major leagues. So he did have the tie to the Phillies, brought up in their organization, played very little at the end of the 81 season. And going into the 82 season, Dallas Green was brought over to be the general manager of the Cubs, and he liked Sandberg. And so the Phillies were in a win now mode. And so he traded them DeJesus because they needed a shortstop and for Sandberg, and I think it was Boa in that trade too. And Sandberg in 82, he started off as a third baseman. Didn't have any power, but man, he could feel third base. But you want your third baseman to have some pop. So it was like, he's not going to last third baseman. He's a contact hitter. He's a glove specialist. So, but we had Boa at short, so we put him at third. And he was like one for his first 30 some odd at bats. He started very slow, but we were a bad team, so we kept him in there. And then in the 83 season, he moved to second base, and he's got a little bit of attention because he won the Gold Glove for second base, but he was just a pedestrian contact hitter. And then going into spring training of 84, they thought they had a pretty good team. Dallas Green, who knew the Phillies like the back of his hand, he wanted Jim Fry, his new manager, said, I need an outfielder who can catch the ball. I also need a guy who can yell, could be that guy on the field and Dallas Green said, I got the two guys for you. So he swung a trade, brought Rob Denier in center field, and left field Gary Matthews, who they called the Sarge, because he had no problem getting into people's faces and telling these young guys, "This is how you need to play the game, man. Come on." So Jim Fry got what he wanted. Dallas Green knew, because he was manager of the Phillies. He knew a couple of players that he thought he could get from Philadelphia, and so um, before the season, the hitting coach was talking to Sandberg about situational hitting, telling him there's going to be times you need to look to pull the ball. You have a runner in scoring position. Um, you're going to want to see if you can pull the ball and drive the ball to the fence, get some extra base hits, and bring in some more runners. Um, with when you're batting with a runner on first, you need to not just try to move the runner over from first to second, try to drive the ball through the hole between first and second. And Sandberg kind of took this in, and his philosophy of hitting changed, and he became a classic situational hitter. There are times to go for the fences, and he figured out this is the times I should go for the fence. There are times when you should play hit and run. This is when I need to hit the other side of the field. There's a time you need to give yourself up, just by hitting behind the runner, so you can get the runner to third. So, you just run out to the second baseman, get the runner to third, one out, we score a run, with a sacrifice fly or whatever. He started becoming a lot more cerebral with how he approached hitting, and it started paying off immediately in the '84 season. We all knew he was having a good season, that this was a different Ryne Sandberg, but no one else did until the Sandberg game. And that was a different time when the Saturday game of the week on NBC,
Big.
everybody watched it. If you were a baseball fan, you watched that game no matter who was playing. And that was Sandberg's coming out party. He took Suter deep twice to tie the game in the ninth, and then in extras, and the Cubs come on and win. And then it was that game where we thought, man, we may be able to win this thing. A pretty dadgum good team. That year, he hit over 300. He had 19 triples, about 20 home runs, a lot of doubles, stolen bases, played excellent defense, and he was the catalyst of that team. And out of nowhere, he was the MVP. And I remember listening to a radio show driving to college one day, driving from Wood River, Illinois to Hannibal, Missouri, listening to a sports show. And they were talking about, before the season, if you would have said Ryne Sandberg to most baseball fans, they would have said, "Oh, that must be some kind of a jelly roll." And
Sandberg.
everybody knows his name. It's like PCA. It just suddenly everybody knew who he was, because he was uh, this all-around great player. And it even helped that Sparky Anderson uh, said that he thought that Sandberg was the best in the National League. And after the Sandberg game, Whitey Herzog was just being his prickly self. He wasn't trying to compliment him. Someone asked him about Sandberg's game. He said, "Oh, he's the best player in baseball." But when you put a quote like that, Whitey Herzog said that Ryne Sandberg's the best player in baseball. So he started having some great seasons. Um, he made 10 All-Star games. He won 9 Gold Gloves. He had 7 Silver Sluggers. He amassed 2,386 hits, 282 home runs, and first, second baseman. That's a lot. In 1990, he led the National League in home runs with 40, and nobody could believe it. The second baseman, who never looked like he went to the gym, I mean, he certainly wasn't on steroids, he hit 40 home runs and led the league in home runs. 344 stolen bases. Of course, he won the MVP in 1984. And his career started in '81, like I said, went through '97. He had a 795 OPS, which is very good. Anything above 750 is very good. When you approach 800, that's really good. And I'm talking about for seasons. When you maintain that for a career, that's really good. 68 WAR, career WAR, and his MVP season, he had an 8.4 WAR. which led all of baseball. Um, but what I remember, and this is what endeared me to Ryne Sandberg because he did become my favorite player in my late teens and through my 20s, um, was the way he approached the game. The game was bigger than him. He never tried to ups, upstage the game. He had an unreal work ethic, and that's what everybody's talk about. He he's just programmed to work, and the way he is built, he has no problem starting with the very basics and working his way up. And then once he retired, he wanted to become a manager. So he started managing within the Cub system. I think he started in AA and then managed in AAA. And then the Phillies hired him. And he managed the Phillies for a full season and parts of two other seasons. So this Hall of Fame guy went down to the lower minors to learn how to manage because that's who he was. He was always a humble person. And even when he got his first round of cancer, he was always classy. And when he was in remission, pronounced in remission a year ago, fans were excited. We were all tremendously excited. They said they're going to put a statue out. We're all excited. And then about 2 months ago, he announced that his cancer is back and it's very aggressive. So he went downhill pretty fast, only 65 years old, gone too soon. Um, but I just admired the way he carried himself. He wasn't a loud guy. Um, he was like the guy next door, just a nice guy. It's like my neighbor Larry. I could go out and talk to Larry about mowing the lawn or anything. That's how Ryne Sandberg was. And so I think that it took him, I think, 3 years on the ballot to make it to the Hall of Fame, um, which I think was about right. Um, I always say, either you're a Hall of Famer or not, but there were other players that were more deserving because they had flashier stats and everything. But Ryne Sandberg just played the game right. And the thing that is most endearing for me, when they made the playoffs in '84, that snapped a 39-year drought of postseason baseball. And we had Santo and Jenkins and Banks, Billy Williams, Kessinger, Becker. We had all these great players that played for us in the 60s and 70s, and they couldn't get us there. And here's this kid who wasn't even a baseball fan growing up, changing his approach to hitting and leading us to the playoffs for the first time. And what that meant to me, this was the first time in my life that I didn't have to put my head down to be a Cub fan. And what really agitated me, I graduated in '84. All these people I grew up with who made fun of me for being a Cub fan, we graduated at the beginning of June, and I lost touch with them. I couldn't say, "Hey, how do you like us now?" So,
Vince, I tell you, as a fan of baseball and being on the other side of the field as a rival to the Cubs, my Cardinals, I I remember hearing about him through the Phillies. You would hear that name, and the Cardinals have had Russa come over, and he brought a lot of A's players over the years. Would come over, trinkle over to the Cardinal roster. Whitey had a lot of Royals players come over and be on the roster. I hope Chaim Bloom is going to bring some of those Red Sox hitters, maybe make some deals, get some Red Sox guys here. So when I heard he went there, I said, okay, yeah, let's check him out. And I'll be honest, I didn't get to see him a whole lot, except when the Cardinals played the Cubs. And my first recollection of him, I just thought he looked like a matinee idol. Man, that's a good looking kid out there. He looks like the Dodgers. Seems like every Dodger player is just a matinee idol. And I'm like, where'd they get these guys? And then we got Mike Ramsey, we got players like that on our team, Bob Uecker. We got guys like that.
Mike
So
Tyson wasn't a good-looking guy.
no, Mike Tyson, he was kind of round. Roger Freed,
Roger
Jack Buck,
Freed.
Roger Freed, Jack Buck said if he was 2 inches taller, he'd be perfectly round. I remember Jack Buck saying that in an old timers game about Roger Freed. That's a great line. But anyway, I saw him, and then of course, '84. You guys we were just we were the '80s. We were a very good team. We had a few down years, but we were a pretty good team. And it was harder to get to the playoffs back then. I mean, one team, you win your division, and then you go to the playoffs. And so it was just so hard. But as you say, that Sandberg game is one of those games. I know it was a Saturday. I know where I was at, and it's just one of those moments. It's just, I there's certain games that I just can't forget. The Pedro Martinez pitching where Don Zimmer charged him and he moved out of the way, just stuff like that. So anyway, and it made me a believer because we had a great game, but Sandberg and the Cubs took it to us and beat us that game. They were better that day. So I just always watched him, and I voted for him for the All-Star team every year. If everything was just even, which usually it wasn't, he was superior to all the other second basemen. I voted for Ryne Sandberg. And one of my best memories is having a Cub at second and a Cardinal at short, Ozzie Smith. And Ozzie's time with the Cardinals kind of goes along with Sandberg's as a Cub. And it's just one of those things. When I think of the Cub organization, there's just a few names that jump out. I think of Fergie, I think of Ernie, and I think of Sandberg. And there's many other players too. Rick Russell always has a special place in my heart because he looked like me and he was a major league player, and he was a really good major league player. And Bruce Sutter, of course, and all those players there. But Sandberg's like, he's up there, with the greats. And when I think of Wrigley Field, that's what I told Brody. We walked around the field, saw the statues, and I told him about the players. I mentioned Ryne Sandberg, and he was at that game we went to where he rung the bell because they said cancer free at the time. So anyway, I just hate to hear that. I'm glad they got that statue up because I saw a picture of him standing in front of that statue that they dedicated to him because he is one of the all-time greats and one of the all-time great Cub players, and just a class act. No one I've ever heard him say anything bad about Ryne Sandberg. If he was one of those players, like me and Brody's going to go see the Yankees and the Cardinals because Brody wants to see Aaron Judge. Well, I'm a Cardinal fan, but I would like to go see the Cubs when Ryne Sandberg was in town or Sammy Sosa. And there's just certain players that I think the attendance goes up because they come to your city. And Ryne Sandberg was one of those guys. He played the game the right way. You could show little leaguers like this is the way you play the game. You work hard, you're smart, you play situational baseball like we talked about. I get excited about a guy hitting a grounder to second, moving the runner over to third, with 1 out. I love that. So anyway, gonna miss him. I saw a Ryne Sandberg shirt. It had a rhino on it, and it said Sandberg in it, and I was like, oh man, I want that shirt. So I'm probably gonna get that shirt and wear it on the show. So Vince, that's all I got about right there.
I was in college in '87. Um, my neighbor was going to Chicago to some mall or something, and Sandberg was going to be there to sign autographs. And
Oh,
so my friend was driving from Hannibal to Chicago for that. And Sandberg got hurt like 2 days before that. And so he had to cancel because he was having some kind of a surgery. And so they had to get the backup guy, a guy named Andre Dawson. So
oh, hey.
Dawson's autograph, Um, but I saw that Andre Dawson had a quote that I read today, and I wish I would have written it down or copied it or something. But they were very tight. They played together from '87 through I think '91 or '92, and they were very tight. And like you said, nobody has a bad thing to say about him. I you know I don't mind flamboyant players,
No.
uh, but the old timer in me does appreciate the guys who just put their head down and work and just persistently work on their craft. And I think that's what's so impressive about him. And maybe what makes it so special is he wasn't the guy that was coming up. He wasn't the Gunnar Henderson or the Paul Skeens. He was the 20th rounder, and he was kind of a throw in with that deal with the Cubs, and then he went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Um, and I was listening to a podcast this morning while I was shedding tears.
I understand.
And they were saying that Ernie Banks will always be Mr. Cub, but I think there's room for two Mr. Cubs because when I think of a guy, Cub, Ryne Sandberg, and it when he wanted to manage the Cubs, then they went with Joe Madden. I know that hurt him, but I understood it, and I was kind of happy because the last thing I wanted was for him to come to a town. And if you're a former player and you do a bad job managing, boy, that could sour you in that town.
Yeah.
And it's like Joe Torre. If Joe Torre wouldn't have went to the Yankees and won all those World Series, people, gosh, man, Joe Torre ruined the Cardinals. He couldn't manage his way out of a paper bag. They proved he could. It's just that,
They didn't give him anything.
yeah. So, JJ, with everything going on this week, I forgot to buy baseball cards. So,
Well, that's okay.
in three places today, and they were all out of baseball cards. So, you're going to open baseball cards, and I'm going to watch it. What are you going
Yes. 2025 Series 1, Aaron Judge on the package. So these are going to be today's players. So no Hall of Famers yet. There might be a salute to a player, but there could be some future Hall of Famers. And here, the very first card I got, Vince, future Hall of Famer right here. I feel safe in saying that. Mr. Mike Trout, right there.
No.
Yeah, 1,000 RBIs and 300. I wrote this down. 397 home runs, and I said, who's hit 397 home runs and has over 1,000 RBIs not in the Hall of Fame? And there's 5 people with 397 home runs and 1,000 RBIs not in the Hall of Fame. Here they are.
Kingman has to be one of them.
I didn't see he was on the list. It was 4 steroid guys and Dale Murphy. It was like McGuire, Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, and then I think Dale Murphy. That was the 4 guys that's got that many home runs and not in the Hall of Fame. So how about that? I mean, that has been eligible because we have Cabrera and Pujols coming, and they haven't got voted on yet.
Yeah, they won't make it.
Oh, Corey Lee, a catcher for the White Sox. It looks like that looks like the scene from Bang the Drum Slowly, where the catcher's trying to catch the foul ball, remember? And he can't find it. Yeah, famous scene in the movie.
Any other team, he'd be a double-A player. Got it.
Oh, man. All right. This was a big first-round draft choice for the Tigers, who are struggling right now. But Casey Mize right there.
Yeah.
Casey Mize, very good pitcher right there. This kid, if he can stay healthy, could be phenomenal. Jung Ho Lee from the Giants.
Yeah.
He can hit, but he's hurt a lot. And I tell you what, the Giants are a team. I think they're on the outside of the playoffs, but they can make the playoffs. I think they could do some damage. Yamamoto, future star of the Dodgers. And I'm sure he's got some deferred payments too, Vince.
It stinks.
Oh, man. Let me see who else we got here. Yoshida. Can't say his first name, from Boston. Very good. The side picture right there, a Boston player. Oh, I got the honor of seeing this guy pitch at Pittsburgh. And I tell you what, he's had a lot of injuries, but what a phenomenal pitcher. Jacob deGrom. And I think he's got 11 wins right now. So he's having a big year. I put 100 on the Rangers to win the American League. And I tell you what, they're making a run, Vince. It ain't over for him yet. We both know this guy. And I tell you what, I'm glad he left St. Louis. Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, right there, the third baseman. Oh, that guy! And what a year he's having. Good Lord.
On the block.
Yeah, on the block. Yeah. Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
And it's looking like it's going to come down to the Cubs, the Reds, and the Brewers. We all need third baseman. He's the one that's left. And I'm thinking the Cubs may overpay to get him, not
Well,
just to have him, but to keep him from being in the division. So
oh, if you got him, my Lord. Yeah, but the Brewers are going to be wanting him. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be fun. And Arenado, I don't think you have to give him a whole lot. We'll probably pay half the contract, so you know.
yeah,
Uh, but here's a guy I've always liked. We'll have to look at him at the end of his career. Freddie Freeman, right there. Love that guy. Class act. He should
future
have
Hall
stayed
of
in
Fame.
Atlanta. His agent right there did tell him about that final deal offer. That's terrible. Anyway, and then this card is a commemorating card of a great player, the one, the only, and I don't know, I know him just as much outside of baseball as for baseball. The one and only Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt, who's coming to Caledonia, by the way. Can you believe
Wow.
it? The Big Hurt coming to Caledonia.
I hope he leaves his pills at home.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. This is the kids show, man. Come on, Frank. Be nice. And I'm sure Doug Flutie and Andy Van Slyke's gonna be lurking in the shadows somewhere.
And wouldn't it be more appropriate if these commercials they have are for whatever product, instead of them talking, they should be sword fighting?
Glow in the dark at night. Ping, ping, ping. Yeah, that's right. I
Oh, that's just nuts. All right. Well,
hope they
JJ,
paid him good. Yes, sir.
you got a big week coming up?
Uh no, I'm just going to try to make it through the week and get to the weekend, and I'm going to enjoy watching the Cardinals. I think we got the oh Lord, I can't even think right now. I got the Marlins, and then I know the Cubs and Cardinals are coming up. Another round with the
Yeah.
Cubs and Cardinals. I'm not looking forward to it. You guys are by far a better team. We've played 7 games. We've won 3, and I think we've been very. You guys have been very generous to let us get 3 wins out of that 7. So
Yeah.
you
They're
know,
always close. All the series
whew,
are
it's
close.
always. I don't care if the Cubs are the best team in baseball, we're the worst, or vice versa. It's always a good game when the Cardinals and Cubs play each other.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, JJ, I will see you next week, and hopefully everybody stays alive and healthy, and I'm not depressed and sad. So, all
I know. I know.
right. Take it easy.
Take care, sir.